Grand Rising, everyone. Grand Rising. Hope everyone is doing well this rising. This Tuesday rising, to be specific. How's everyone in the panel doing? How you doing today, Free? Bones, how y'all doing this rising?
Grand Rising. All is well my way. No complaints. Grand Rising to the chat and all who are listening.
Same here, same here.
All right, do us a favor. Give us some ones in the chat if you can hear us okay. Make sure we are coming through loud and clear so that you don't have to strain or struggle. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all for that. All right. Hold on. What was it that Joe 47? Did anyone see the news article about the young guy got arrested in Galveston, Texas, and they had him cuffed with a rope? The police on the horseback, crazy. Nah, Joe 47, I didn't see that. I can only imagine how interesting and annoying simultaneously that could be. Want to wish everyone a grand rising. Send a shout out to all those that are in the chat. Grand Rising Big Boy Wig. Grand Rising Joe 47. Him and I were in the UB News premiere chat this rising around 7 something. Grand Rising David Corey. Grand Rising Copper Color Queen. Grand Rising Copper Chopper 803. Grand Rising Ladarian Woods. Grand Rising Mr. TJ. Grand Rising Carrie Bay. Grand Rising Enrique. Hopefully everyone's doing well this rising. I want to say Grand Rising to those that are listening, who just want to soak up this information and use it to benefit your community. And Grand Rising to the new subscribers. And yeah. Grand Rising Doodle Vision. Grand Rising Macadam 1. Hope all is doing well. So are y'all ready for some more information this rising? Maybe not. No.
I'm always ready to rediscover truth. Let's go.
Well, we'll go ahead and take care of this public service announcement, and then we'll go ahead and get started. This episode of Cab Grand Rising Show is brought to you by a Toxinous Assembly, where the real work is done. Because at the end of the day, it's about getting the work done and coming together for that purpose. So who are we? A Toxinous Assembly is a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous Americans' voices by using genealogy, also known as family history, which is the study of families and the tracing of their lineages in history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigree of its members. Our core values are the foundation of our company, which is essential to our success and serves as a lens through which we evaluate every business decision. And those core values are, but are not limited to, integrity, which is knowing and doing what is right; respect, which is treating others the way you want to be treated; responsibility is embracing opportunities to contribute; and servant leadership is to serve the common good. And for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time or who are not aware of who we are and what we do, our purpose is to do basically one thing with three, I guess, subcategories, if you will, to help you do your genealogy. We do that by using the services that are provided through either Ancestry.com or the other 99 free services that are on it, TacticsAssembly.com's website. And by providing the information which allows you to answer questions dealing with the timelines and the history that we provide throughout the show. We also want to make sure that if you so choose, and no one is saying that you have to, but if you so choose to tie into your tribe, to tie into your house if you're African, to tie into your group or organization, whether it be Russian, Black Irish, Black Dutch, or whatever nationality, we will do everything in our power, using all our resources free of charge to help you do so. And if you should wish to elicit our help and becoming financially independent, and you also want to help your relatives, your community, and your tribe do so, we'll help you with that as well. That's what we're here to do. We're not here to tell you who you are. We're not here to tell you who you are not. And we're not here to get into your personal business. And the only time we bring up things that we normally don't talk about, if someone in the chat brings it up or they ask a question, we'll do the research and bring you the facts. Outside of that, that's pretty much a Tactics Assembly in the shell. Grand Rising Joshua James. Hope all is well. So, esteemed panel, LJ Free and Bones, did I miss anything, or is there anything that you would like to add?
Well presented and a nice bow.
Okay.
We just got an update though.
What's the update?
Basically, the entities that was trying to hack the personal information in the Tactics Assembly website, they done tracked their IP address back. So the entities that were responsible have been caught and narrowed down. So moving forward, that situation, the issue is taken care of.
So basically what you're saying is there are people that have been trying to hack the website and disrupt what is going on with a nonprofit entity.
Yep, they found out the hard way.
So do they not realize that's a felony offense?
They do now.
Okay. And also, too, for those that are on the forum, we want to make sure that you understand that this information, the forum is for you. The forum is for your intellectual capital, intellectual property, to post it, to share it, to help each other. What we would like for you to do is, if you have any business endeavors, before you put that on before you put that in a forum, get with us, reach out to us, so we can help you with those forums, those business entities. And the reason why we say this is because we don't want someone to just go into the forum, post their business information, and one, we don't know who you are. Two, we don't ever see you in the chat. And three, we have to protect everyone's best interests. Because there are people that are trying to hack the site, we don't want somebody logging in under some fake email address and then have people clicking on their website and then ends up affecting their computer. So if you have a business interest and you want to share it or spread it, just let us know. We'll do a community spotlight and we'll help put your business out there, opposed to just putting it into the forum and then looking suspicious. So I wanted to put that out there because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be deleting some suspicious looking accounts, if you will. So I wanted to put that out. So if that is one of your accounts, let us know. Like I said, we'll do a community spotlight, promote your business, and then we'll make sure we get done the right way, because we want to make sure that we're not negatively affecting someone's account. So just want to put that out there. Grand Rising Pamela Hall, hope all is well. So, yeah.
Oh, and many probably noticed too that YouTube took yesterday's Rising Show down. But don't worry, we're in the process of uploading it to the website, so you'll still be able to go back and watch it.
Ladarian Wood says, who hating? Well, we have our suspicions, but right now they're just suspicions. So when when everything's said and done, you'll know as soon as we know. So what else is going on? Oh yeah, for those of you who have been keeping track and following us with say that 4 times fast. With what's going on as far as nonprofits, business entities, and the like. You probably remember Bones talking about or mentioning that there are numerous links to help nonprofit organizations. I think he mentioned there's like a good 40 or 50 links to help your nonprofit business. One of those links in particular is a company that is called Mobile Citizen. Is it Mobile Citizen, Bones? Citizens Mobile.
Yeah, that's their name. Yeah, Mobile Citizen.
Yeah, they are actually a nonprofit entity that allows you as a nonprofit or an education entity to get Wi-Fi for $10 a month. And if you choose to be a reseller, you can sell it for $10 a month. So,
no throttle down, no limit, no overcharges. It's the same Wi-Fi that you see government facilities working on.
So I decided to take my nonprofit and get registered with it, and I just got my acceptance letter yesterday. So I'll be able to access that. So if anybody has any questions about that, we'll post that information in the back. So the information that's put out about the nonprofits and the help that they get, it actually works. So as we continue to have those successes, we'll continue to bring that information to you, and we'll probably have to create a form specifically for that as well. Pamela Hall says, "I wish I had a business." Well, Pam, that's easy to do. Starting a business is not hard. There's enough people here that can help you if you want to. So don't think that you can't. It's never too late. Colonel Sanders got started when he was 76. Not saying that you're 76. I'm just giving you an example.
And also, like Tim May said, we're going to sit down and see what we can come together for the community to try to help everybody who need access to internet. So we're going to come up with something.
Most definitely. Okay. Did we cover everything? I think we did. Yeah, I think we did.
I can't think of anything else.
Well, all right then. So it's about that time, y'all. Time to get, as they say, crack-a-lackin'. I sound like such an old man. I need to stop. Be quiet, Fred.
That's actually not my punchline, but okay.
Yeah,
Shout out to Dan Bell, by the way.
I walked into that one. Pamela, we'll talk about it and get you straight. So, yesterday, we got our skulls cracked with the hard hats on. Today is not going to be too much different. So, we want to make sure we prep the area so everyone will know. Where they are and where they should or should not be, where they should or should not be standing. So, all the people with the wrenches or the ratchets, get ready.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required. Warning, warning.
I don't know Why that soundbite likes to glitch up. So you've been warned. So now we got to go to the next phase of warning, right? Let y'all know. Put them hats on. Get that gear on. Get them shoes on. It's about time. It's about time. So, all right. First thing we're going to cover is the relationship between the unions and the Negroes, so that we make sure people are on the same accord. We must reiterate that Negroes are not who we think they are.
Necessarily. Lectio difficilior.
That's right. They can be the Métis, your mulattoes, the people of color, your Native Americans, your Melungeons, some Huguenots, your Black Europeans or your Black Dutch or your Black Irish, and the American Indians, which are the copper-colored Indians, in many cases, our ancestors. So all these individuals or people or groups of people can be considered to be Negroes or Black. And after the video, y'all know exactly what I mean. It's not about how things look. So, I'm going to read from the, what is this? The Negro and Organized Labor, and I'm putting a link in the chat so y'all can follow along. Because as you know, we want to make sure y'all able to keep track. And this link is also in the forum as well. So it starts off reading, there have been some monumentous changes in the Negro Union relations in the last decade, not only because of developments in the labor movement, but also and mainly because of developments in the race relations in the larger community. The most important of these latter developments include the continued migration of Negroes out of the South, the 1954 Supreme Court desegregation decision, the growing political power of Negroes as they concentrated in the urban areas, and the growing racial tension as Negroes became increasingly dissatisfied with their rate of progress and as segregationists resisted change. The main purpose of this paper is to examine the impact of those changes on Negro labor relations with the emphasis on following questions. Number one, what have been the major developments in union racial practices? Number two, how have racial disorders in the South affected Negro labor relations in the region? Number three, what have been the main developments in the relations between unions and Negroes at the national level? Number four, what have been the main developments in the public policy with respect to union and racial practices? So already, by me reading this first paragraph, you can already determine that the union, quote-unquote, Negro relations has not been great. So now they're going to talk about the union racial practices. It reads, in the developing union racial practices, we shall concentrate on problems of the racial exclusion from the unions by formal and informal means, segregated local unions, discriminating in the building trades, and the ways unions influence economic opportunities of Negroes. The formal exclusion. The number of national unions with formal racial restrictions continued to decline between 1953 and 1963. In 1930, at least 22 unions barred Negroes from membership. By 1943, mergers and changing racial practices have reduced the number of restrictive unions to 13. 7 of which were the AFL affiliates: SNA, IAM, BRSC, MMP, RMA, WWPA, and the ORT. In 1949, there were 9 unions with formal race bars, 2 of which were members of the AFL, WWPA, and ORT. After the AFL-CIO merger in 1955, there would have then it cuts off. So the importance of this document is to give you a broader view of what was happening after the Civil War, after the Emancipation Proclamation, after the 13th and 14th Amendment, and after there was a flood of, you might as well say, let's just say 7.5 million immigrants to the United States. How did that affect blacks and Negroes, aka Métis, mulattoes, people of color, Native Americans, Melungeons, Huguenots, Black Europeans, and the American copper-colored Indian? Well, the first thing we can surmise is that a lot of Negroes went north because the Emancipation Proclamation did not free those in the South. It just said if you were able to get yourself free from the South and get north, you will be emancipated. That was number one. Number two, civil rights. Not civil rights. The 13th Amendment shifted what slavery was. It went from being an institution that was open and commercial to being closed and government ran. So what do we mean by that? Instead of indentured servitude being restricted for landowners and apprenticeship, now you had to commit a crime in order to be considered a slave or a prisoner. Then you started having the black codes and Jim Crow laws, which were instituted specifically for causing Negroes to violate those laws, thus being put into the new slavery under the Reconstruction.
Mass roundups.
So when that didn't work, or when that wasn't moving fast enough, there were new laws put into place like loitering and not being gainfully employed or looking for employment. That's where your unions come in. Your unions were barring Negroes from working. Well, what happens if you don't have a job? You can't pay your bills. You can't pay your taxes, which is relatively new to Negroes. Some Negroes, meaning your Métis, your Melungeons, and your American Indians, the copper-colored ones, because they were not taxed at one time. So they go from being untaxed to taxed and having bills that they didn't normally have because they lived off the land and they bought it. So that was taken from them, or they gave that up when they became citizens. So the unions were then putting themselves in a position to bar these Negroes so that they would be easier to prosecute and put into these new prisons. So that's where we're at this particular point in time, in this timeline, when it comes to the unions dealing with the Negroes. Remember, the Negroes are not necessarily the individuals that were considered our ancestors. They are a wide range of individuals, and they have every color spectrum you can imagine. Is there anything anybody want to add before we move forward?
No, sir. You don't leave much meat on these bones, and then you want us to chime in. Like,
come
it's
on.
a good thing. It's a good thing. Go ahead.
Man.
No, nothing to add. Not at this time.
Okay, cool. So, one of the biggest culprits of these unions harming or being what's the word I want to use? I'll say assistance to the Negro being put into the new slavery under Reconstruction was the American Federation of Labor. Okay, this union was a large union, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the link in the chat. Exactly, Macadon AFL. So the American Federation of Labor. Now this is coming from Wikipedia, and as always, Wikipedia cites the sources, and there are numerous sources, archives and external links, so research can be done. So let me know when y'all ready, and go. The American Federation of Labor was a national federation of labor unions in the United States, founded in Columbus, Ohio, in December 1886 by an alliance of craft unions disaffected from the Knights of Labor, a national labor union. So, how about we look at this time period, 1886? Why is 1886 so significant? That was literally 4 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, and I think it was 2 years after the 13th Amendment was signed. Samuel Gompers of the Cigar Makers International Union was elected president at its founding convention and re-elected every year except one until his death in 1924. The AFL was the largest union grouping in the United States for the first half of the 20th century, even after the creation of the Congress of Industrial Organizations, which is the CIO, by unions which were expelled by the AFL in 1935 over its opposition to industrial unionism. The Federation was founded and dominated by craft unions throughout its first 50 years, after which many craft union affiliates turned to organizing on an industrial union basis to meet the challenges from the Congress of Industrial Organizations, CIO, in the 1940s. So the founder, or the president, was Samuel Gompers. He was a cigar maker, and he was in an international union, was elected president. Okay. Big Hawk says, why do they hate us so much after we gave up our status, gave them our land, and they still feel the need to block us from working, living life? It's kind of like overkill. Well, Big Hawk, they needed slaves still, and we were the most skilled and the most efficient. I mean, at the end of the day, we the best at what we do. So if you're gonna have somebody do something, you want them to do it. You want it to be the best. And since that's us, that's why we ended up in this situation. So, you know.
I like how Big Hawk says that it seems a bit like overkill, because I agree. Like, it really does. Being that it does, is it possible that it's all meant to get our attention? That all this is happening in a way that it's never happened to a people before, like ever. So why? Why us? What are we supposed to be responsible for as keepers of the earth itself? What are our responsibilities? What are we supposed to do? Those things are so important. When I keep saying, be tribal and remember, it's just that sense of we have to get all our pieces back together, get that sense of wholeness, oneness of self, like truly. Because I don't think that any of this is ever going to make sense until we get back in order. Like I said prior, we're a missing piece to a very important puzzle. And if we get in place, everything else will unlock.
I'd agree with that. And that's the reason why doing our genealogy is so important and so crucial, so that we are able to put this information into proper perspective and continue to break this indoctrinated spell that we're under. So, well said.
My thing is, like, I don't care like what label somebody tries to put on it or what they try to call it. Just look around and see what's being experienced by you, by your tribal members. I don't particularly like that word family, but you know what I mean, your clan, your people. And, some of the urban areas in the neighborhood, everything that's going on with Flint. And now even when you mention Flint, it's starting to sound cliche because we've been talking about that situation as a community for so long and nothing's being done. Come on now. It's overkill for a reason. If we don't wake up like to the point of being aware, not simply alert, let's just keep moving. Keep going.
We hear you, Free. We hear you. So I'm reading from the Wikipedia page, the American Federation of Labor. The link is already put in the chat. Doodle Vision said, we had scammers in our midst. That's why we got treated so bad, like Club Bureau. I'm sure Doodle Vision will expound on it. So, in 1955, the AFL merged with the CIO to create the AFL-CIO, which was comprised of the longest-lasting and most influential labor federation in the United States to this day. So then it talks about the origins, right? And this is where it gets interesting. Oh, he says, treat you bad like Club Nouveau, not Bureau. The origins. The American Federation of Labor, AFL, was organized as an association of trade unions in 1886. The organization emerged from a dispute with the Knights of Labor, KFL organization, in which the leadership of that organization solicited locals of various craft unions to withdraw from the international organizations and to affiliate with the KFL directly, an action which would have taken funds from the various unions and enriched the KFL's coffers. The Federation of Organized Trades and Labor Unions also merged into what would become the American Federation of Labor. So it said the AFL merged from a dispute with the Knights of Labor. Let's see what the Knights of Labor, where they come about.
They better not be anything like these king's daughters. I know that now. These titles.
We're about to find out, aren't we? Doodle Vision says Knights Templar of Labors. The KFL, Knights of Labor, KFL, officially the Noble and Holy Order of the Knights of Labor, was an American labor federation active in the late 19th century, especially in the 1880s. It operated as well in Canada and had chapters also in Great Britain and Australia. Wait, what? It had operations in Great Britain and Australia. Its most important leadership was Terence V. Powderly, a stepbrother and stepbrother Joseph Bath. The Knights promoted the social and cultural uplift of the working man, rejected social and anarchism, demanded the 8-hour day, and promoted the procedures ethics of republicanism in the United States. In some cases, it acted as a labor union, negotiated with employers, but it was never well organized or funded. After a rapid expansion in the mid 1880s, it suddenly lost its new members and became a small operation again. It was founded by Uriah Smith Stevens on December 28, 1869, and it reached 28,000 members in 1880. Then jumped to 100,000 in 1884. By 1886, 20% of all workers was affiliated, nearly 800,000 members. It reached 28,000 members in 1880. Then jumped to 100,000 in 1884. Who is it? Hold on. I gotta find it. There you go. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Give me a second. Alright, Bones. So, what's that? So, we're looking at from 1884. No, from 1880 to 1884, it jumped to 100,000. It jumped to 100,000 members from 28,000, and then 1886, 20% of all workers were affiliated, which is nearly 800,000 members. Grand Rising Antonio Batiste. This number, 800,000 members by 86, would have been alarming had we not known that there was a massive influx of immigrants from 1820 to 1870. So it was nothing to get those numbers up that high. Then it goes on to read, it was a frail structure, and that it could not cope as it was battered by charges of failure and violence and calamities of the association with the Haymarket Square riot. Most members abandoned the movement in 1886 to 1887, leaving at most 100,000 in 1890. Many opted to join groups that helped them identify their special needs instead of the KOL, which addressed many different types of issues. The Panic of 1893 terminated the Knights of Labor's importance. Remnants of the Knights of Labor continued in existence until 1949, when the group's last 50 members local dropped its affiliation. So, this Union of Europeans was not well organized, but it had at its height over 800,000 members. But then looks like it was fraught with violence, because it talks about a calamitous situation at the Haymarket Square riot. Let's see what this riot was about. Put the link in the chat. It says the Haymarket Affair, also known as the Haymarket Massacre, Haymarket Riot, or Haymarket Square Riot, was the aftermath of a bombing that took place at a labor demonstration on May 4th, 1886 at the Haymarket Square in Chicago. It began as a peaceful rally in support of workers striking for an 8-hour workday. The day after police killed 8 workers. An unknown person threw a dynamite bomb at the police as they acted to disperse the meeting, and the bomb blast and ensuing gunfire resulted in the deaths of 7 police officers and at least 4 civilians. Dozens of others were wounded. In an internationally publicized legal proceeding that followed, 8 anarchists were convicted of conspiracy. The evidence was that one of the defendants may have built a bomb, but none of those on trial had thrown it. 7 were sentenced to death and 1 to a term of 15 years of prison. Illinois Governor Richard J. Oglesby commuted 2 of the sentences to terms of life in prison. Another committed suicide in jail rather than face the gallows. The other 4 were hanged on November 11, 1887. In 1893, Illinois Governor John Peter Altgeld pardoned the remaining defendants and criticized the trial. The Haymarket Affair is generally considered significant as the origin of International Workers' Day, held on May 1st. According to the Labor Studies Professor William J. Alderman, no single event has influenced the history of labor in Illinois, the United States, and even the world. More than the Chicago Haymarket Affair, it began with a rally on May 4, 1886, but the consequences are still being felt today. Although the rally is concluded in American history textbooks, very few present the event accurately or point out its significance. The site of the incident was designated a Chicago landmark in 1992, and a sculpture was dedicated there in 2004. In addition, the Haymarket Martyrs Monument was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1997 at the defendant's burial site in Forest Park. So then it goes on.
Basically, why we celebrate Labor's Day. So you thought they liked you that much? Nope.
Doodle Vision said this dynamic fiasco puts that NWA song about the police in a whole new perspective. So let's look at the background about this. It says that following the Civil War, particularly following the Long Depression, there was a rapid expansion of industrial production in the United States. Chicago was a major industrial center, and tens of thousands of German and Bohemian immigrants were employed at about $150 a day. So stop. There were tens of thousands of Germans and Bohemian immigrants employed. Just want to make sure y'all hear that. What's a Bohemian? Let's see. A Bohemian is a resident of Bohemia or a region of the Czech Republic or the Kingdom of Bohemia, a region of the former Crown of Bohemia. In English, the word Bohemian, let me read it, was used to denote Czech people as well as Czech language.
Wait, I'm sorry, you gotta start that over. I'm sorry.
I feel like I feel like his little brother. Let me read it.
Oh man, you got it funny. Do you mind starting that over, please?
Yeah, we are looking at the definition for Bohemian. Bohemian is a resident of Bohemia, a region of Czech Republic or the former Kingdom of Bohemia, a region of the former Crown of Bohemia, lands of the Bohemian Crown. In English, the word Bohemian was used to denote the Czech peoples as well as the Czech language. So what Bones is trying to tell you while I was reading is that these people are Czechoslovakian. Slavs. They're Slavs, aka slaves.
We have a Bohemian Grove in California, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to remember, a lot of them Slavs, they end up calling themselves Italians because they had them working in the wine fields doing grapes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
how they started identifying as Italians, to try to hide themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Self-identification.
Yep. So who was it really for? Anyway.
Ooh.
It said they were employed at $150 a day. The American workers worked on average slightly over 60 hours during their 6-day work week. The city became a center for many attempts to organize labor's demands for better working conditions. Employers responded with an anti-union measure such as firing and blacklisting union members, locking out workers, recruiting strike breakers, employing spies, thugs, and private security forces, and exacerbating ethnic retentions in order to divide the workers. Businesses' interests were supported by mainstream newspapers and were opposed to the labor and the immigrants' press. So let's look at this. Listen to what they're doing to these people. Division said the Czechs were a meshed group with Slavs. This caused a civil war in the 1990s.
Czechoslovakia.
Remember a lot of them Czechs. All of them are not pale either.
So let's look at this. It says employers responded with anti-union measures such as firing, blacklisting union members, locking out workers, recruiting strike bearers, employing spies, thugs, and private security forces, and exacerbating ethnic tensions in order to divide the workers. Exacerbating ethnic tensions in order to divide the workers. What workers were they trying to divide? And Division put it right there. It said Czechs hate Slavs. The Germans and the Bohemians, they were trying to separate, divide, and conquer. And it sounds like something they would do to, what they call, quote unquote, black people as we understand them today, right?
I mean, it's always a caste system within a caste system. Always.
Almost definitely.
Yeah.
Well, remember also, before they ran it on us, they perfected it on their own people. Ghettos and stuff come from Germany.
Exactly. So, during the economic slowdown between 1882 and 1886, socialist and anarchist organizations were active. Memberships of the Knights of Labor, which rejected socialism and radicalism, but supported the 8-hour workday, grew from 70,000 in 1884 to over 700,000 in 1886. That's basically 10-time increase. In Chicago, the anarchist movement of several thousand, mostly immigrant workers, centered about the German language newspaper Arbeiter Zeitung, Workers' Times, edited by August Spies. Other anarchists operated a militant revolutionary force with an armed section that was equipped with guns and explosives. Its revolutionary strategy centered around the belief that successful operations against the police and seizure of major industrial centers would result in massive public support by workers, start a revolution, destroy capitalism, and establish a socialist economy.
Hold up, don't that sound like sovereign citizenship? I'm just saying. Could that be the predecessor to sovereign citizenship? The moment when the concept was created, right here.
I mean,
because these foreigners, they were mad because they couldn't compete, so they tried to create their own system around our ancestors.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, though.
In October 1884, a convention held by the Federation of Organized Trades and Labor Unions unanimously set May 1st, 1886 as a date by which 8-hour workday would become standard. As the chosen date approached, U.S. labor unions prepared for a general strike in support of the 8-hour day. On Saturday, May 1st, thousands of workers went on strike and rallies were held throughout the United States with the cry, 8-hour day with no cut in pay. Estimates of the number of striking workers across the U.S. range from 300,000 to 500,000. In New York City, the number of demonstrators were estimated at 10,000, and Detroit, 11,000. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, some 10,000 workers turned out. In Chicago, the movement centered an estimated 300 to 400,000 workers had gone on strike. And there were perhaps twice as many people out on the streets participating in various demonstrations and marches. As for example, a march by 10,000 men employed at the Chicago lumber yards. Though participants in these events added up to 80,000, it is disputed whether there was a march of that number down Michigan Ave, led by anarchist Albert Parsons, founder of the International Workers' People's Association, his wife Lucy Parsons, and their children. On May 3rd, striking workers in Chicago met near the McCormick Harvesting Machine Company plant. Union molders at the plant had been locked out since early February, and the predominantly Irish-American workers at the McCormick, that's funny, they work at a place called McCormick, and they're Irish-American workers, and had come under attack from Pinkerton guards during an early strike action in 1885. This event, along with 8-hour militancy of McCormick workers, had gained the strikers some respect and notoriety around the city. By this time in 1886, general strikebreakers entering the McCormick plant were under protection from the garrison of 400 police officers. Although half of the replacement workers defected to the general strike on May 1st, McCormick workers continued to harass strikebreakers as they crossed the picket lines. Speaking to a rally outside the plant on May 3rd, August Spies advised the striking workers to hold together, to stand by their union, or they would not succeed. Well-planned and coordinated the general strike to the point and remained largely nonviolent. When the end of the workday bell sounded, however, a group of workers surged to the gates to confront the strikebreakers. Despite calls for calm by Spies, the police fired on the crowd. 2 McCormick workers were killed, although some newspaper accounts said that there were 6 fatalities. Spies would later testify, "I was very indignant. I knew from experience of the past that this butchering of people was done for the express purpose of defeating the 8-hour movement." The outrage by this act of police violence, local anarchists quickly printed and distributed flyers calling for the rally the following day at the Haymarket Square, also called the Haymarket, which was a then bustling commercial center near the corner of Randolph Street and Des Plaines Street. Printed in German and English, the flyers exclaimed that the police had murdered the strikers on behalf of business interests and urged workers to seek justice. The first batch of flyers contained the words, "Working men, armed yourselves and appear in full force." When Spies saw the line, he said that he would not speak at the rally unless the words were removed from the flyer. All but a few hundred of the flyers were destroyed, and a new flyer was printed without the offending words. More than 20,000 copies of the revised flyers were distributed. The rally began peacefully under a light rain on the evening of May 4th. August Spies, Albert Parsons, and Samuel Findon spoke to a crowd estimated variously between 600 to 3,000 while standing in an open wagon adjacent to the square of Des Plaines Street. A large number of off-duty police officers watched from nearby. So, then it goes down to where it talks about bombing and gunfire. At about 10:30 p.m., Jesse Fielding was finishing his speech. Police arrived in masses, marching in formation towards the speaker's wagon in order the rally to disperse. Fielding insisted that the meeting was peaceful. Police Inspector John Bonifield proclaimed, "I command you," addressing the speaker, "in the name of the law to desist, and you," addressing the crowd, "to disperse." A homemade bomb with a brittle metal casing filled the dynamite and ignited by a fuse was thrown into the path of the advancing police. Its fuse briefly sputtered, and then the bomb exploded, killing policeman Mathis J. Deegan with flying metal fragments and mortally wounding 6 other officers. So hold on. Somebody that nobody knew threw a bomb and killed 6 police officers. At the time, just so happens, as the police officers was telling people to cease and desist.
Sounds like an agent.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Who's just gonna randomly do that? And I mean, if the people are leaving, that means they don't want that confrontation. They don't want the violence. So how is somebody just gonna randomly throw this Molotov cocktail
I
filled with
remember that picture y'all
dynamite.
seen from Black Lives Matters. Remember the picture from Black Lives Matters? Because they create the moments. That's how that happens.
Theater. But
Yep.
this is like real life type of theater. Like the damage being done. Like it's not like, all right, cut. Like in some of these instances, it's causing people their actual lives. They just stop playing.
Think about it. Word of mouth and newspaper is the only thing that exists. So the incident is whatever the authorities said it is. I mean, it still plays out that way in our neighborhoods.
You tap into a community's emotions and powder keg.
So that was basically the KFL, Knights of Labor. And as y'all can see, Macadon wants his crisis actors. It's crazy. So this stuff was going on even back then. So as we look at the structure of this, so all this is going on while the Trail of Tears is going on. And while our ancestors are changing their status, unbeknownst to them, this stuff is going on up north. And then when they get up north, this is what they get faced with. So let's look at the founder or the president of the American Federation of Labor. The Doodle Vision says, next thing you know, you have some guy in a mosquito skin vest on CNN talking about his arrest.
He's telling the truth. Very descriptively, but yeah, he's telling the truth.
You see how they do it?
Has anybody ever seen a picture of Samuel Gompers? He's definitely... I mean, that video yesterday made me change the way I look at people. I wonder if he could have been considered Negro. Just by looking at how frizzy his hair is. Y'all tell me what y'all think. Give me a second.
Give you an idea, Arnold Schwarzenegger at that time would have been considered swarthy.
So yeah.
So you got to remember, they say darker complexions. People think they mean like very, very dark skin. No, they just mean darker complexions.
Probably more like the lighter tawny is what they're talking about, because when you think about their whole Hollywood tall, dark, and handsome, and you see what they give you as a picture of that, it'll make anybody confused unless you know their lingo, their speak.
Yeah, look at the Cecilia
system.
So that's Samuel Gompers. So based off that information, he could have been considered a black European. See, he was an English-born American labor union leader and a key figure in American labor history. Gompers founded the American Federation of Labor and served as the organization's president from 1886 to 1894, and from 1895 until his death in 1924. He promoted harmony among the different craft unions that comprised the AFL, trying to minimize jurisdictional battles. He promoted through organization and collective bargaining to secure shorter hours and higher wages, the first essential steps, he believed, to emancipating labor. He also encouraged the AFL to take political action to elect their friends and defeat their enemies. He mostly supported Democrats, but sometimes Republicans he strongly opposed socialists. During World War I, Gompers and the AFL openly supported the war effort, attempting to avert strikes and boost morale while raising wage rates and expanding membership. So it says he was born in London, England. He died in San Antonio, Texas. He had spouses. He was also a cigar maker. Samuel Gompers was born on January 27, 1850 in London, into a Jewish family that originally hailed from Amsterdam. So he was a Huguenot. His elementary school career was brief. However, since a mere 3 months after his 10th birthday, Gompers was removed from school and sent to work as an apprentice cigar maker to help earn money for his impoverished family. Gompers was able to continue his studies in night school, however, during which time he learned Hebrew and studied the Talmud, a process that he long later recalled was akin to studying law. Gompers appreciated Hebrew in his youth, but held Yiddish in low regard. Ooh. Owing to dire financial straits, the Gompers family immigrated to the United States in 1863, settling in Lower East Side of Manhattan. The New York City Gompers' father was engaged in the manufacture of cigars at home, assisted for the first years and a half by Samuel. In his free time, the young teenager formed a debate club with his friends an activity that provided practical experience in public speaking and parliamentary procedures. The club drew Gompers into contact with other upwardly mobile young men of the city, including a young Irish-American named Peter J. McGuire, who later would play a large role in the AFL. Well, this is pretty much the beginning life of Mr. Gompers. Part I wanted to focus on. This is where I want to focus on. Gompers was a leading Freemason, reaching the 32nd degree in the Scottish Rite Valley of Washington in 1906. In 1920, he wrote, "In my Masonic life, I have visited lodges in many lands and have learned that Freemasonry in many countries, particularly in Latin countries, is the principal means whereby freedom of the conscience of thought and expression is preserved." So this gentleman was a Freemason, and he belonged to the Scottish Rite. What is the Scottish Rite? I'm glad you asked. Of course, this is the answer we get. Look at that insignia. What's in the eagle's claw? Y'all see it? It's a sword, right? See it? That's a handle. Anyway. So, Scottish Rite, the ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. It's a Masonic jurisdiction. The United States often omits the end, while the English Constitution in the United Kingdom omits the Scottish, commonly known as simply the Scottish Rite, or in England and Australia, the Rose Cross. Although this is only one of its degrees, it is one of the several rights of Freemasonry. A rite is a progressive series of degrees conferred by various Masonic organizations or bodies, each of which operates under the control of its own central authority. In the Scottish Rite, the central authority is called the Supreme Council. The Scottish Rite is one of the appendant bodies of Freemasonry that a Master Mason may join. For further exposure to the principles of Freemasonry, it is also concordant in that some of its degrees related to the degrees of symbolic Freemasonry or craft. In England and some other countries, while the Scottish Rite is not accord official recognition by the Grand Lodge, only a recognized Freemason may join, and there is no prohibition against his doing so. In the United States, however, the Scottish Rite is officially recognized by the Grand Lodges as an extension of the degrees of Freemasonry. The Scottish Rite builds upon the ethical teachings and philosophy offered in the craft or blue lodge through dramatic presentation of individual degrees. So here's a question. Why is a 32nd degree Master Mason with the Scottish Rite the head of the AFL?
Agenda.
Antonio says, did we address Freemasons yet? Did I miss it? Did we say if they were related to Protestants and Catholics? Antonio, we have not addressed Freemasons yet.
For a little precursor,
yeah,
they are a little bit closer to Huguenots than and Protestants and Catholics.
Yep.
They go back to the aristocrats, the Renaissance.
So, something to think about right quick. So what do we know so far? We know that the unions are being used to bar Negroes from working. So it'd be easy for them to be incarcerated and join the voluntary slavery, aka prison. And we know these Negroes can be anyone from Métis, mulatto, people of color, Native American, the Melungeon, some Huguenots, and your Black European, and American Copper Color Indian. So all these individuals can qualify as Negroes. Create a labor force to work for pennies on a dollar and make way for the continuing incoming of immigrants who will eventually be used to replace us. When I say replace us, I'm talking about the descendants of the American copper-colored Indian.
And look at it this way. If I wanted to control something, the way you go about it, you lump everybody into one category first. Once you get everybody comfortable with being lumped into this one category, now you start dividing groups. You start making individual groups on how you see fit to push your narrative across. And if you study the timeline, you can see they mushed everybody together. Once they mushed everybody together, they slowly broke apart small groups and put them in places where they needed them to be. It's really what concentration camps really were. Same thing that the military do now. Break you down, erase you, then build you back and mold you in the direction and image they want you to be.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody was around during the time when the commercial was be all that you can be. You's gonna be what they wanted you to be. Or you's gonna be out.
Facts, doo-doo. And a lot of people and a lot of our people fall for that, mixing in Freemasons with these Prince Hall Masons. Those are two different things. Totally two different things.
Because the Prince Hall Freemasons are what they call free and accepted.
Yep.
Question is, free and accepted by who?
Antonio hit it right on the head. Yeah, you got Freemasons, and I hate to say it, you got the black version. Just like you got their fraternities, then you got the black version. Carbon copies of what they were doing. But if you research and get back to the bottom, to the man, all these people tie back into each other.
I love this chat.
Because what we posted, it was yesterday in the forum, posted a article in the forum where it shows you where a lot of the Huguenots and Knight Templars were the same. They worked together in some cases.
Mm-hmm. So, Bones, you want to tie this in a nice little bow and bring up how we end up, because we already know how we got infiltrated with prostitution. That was from New France, and also from a lot of the poor Irish women who were prostitutes being brought over here by the millions. So, you want to talk about the gangs that came over here?
Most definitely. Well, a lot of people know about the movie Gangs in New York. What a lot of people don't realize it actually played out. These are these Irish and Scottish and German immigrants that were coming to New York that because of the war, they were drafting people for wars. A lot of people didn't want to go. There was no work, fighting for resources. A fight broke out. Then from that fight, you got one community got awarded the police department. Another one got rewarded what we can call city services and contracts, making up what is New York City today. Study the boroughs, why the Italians got particular things, why the Irish got particular things there. They started becoming your unions, then from there a lot of your mobs, then moving into your politicians. Them original immigrant slaves.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead and read from this link that I posted.
Yep, firefighters too. Basically all your main services branches, like your firefighters, your police department. Yeah, that end up going to that group of people. That's who heads that.
So here we go. America's first true melting pot was a rundown Manhattan neighborhood called the Five Points. It was a cheap slum that lured in the poorest and least fortunate. Sweatshop workers, immigrants, and newly freed slaves, all trying to escape by side through some of the worst living conditions in the United States. It was far from perfect. 5 Points was a place where life was short and violent, where race riots would regularly break out, and where diseases spread like wildfire. It was a place of thieves, brothels, and intense poverty, and a place where the original gangs of New York were formed. Gang colors cropped up across Manhattan for the first time in the early 19th century. The Bowery Boys, a gang mainly made up of firefighters, would go out in a red shirt and stovepipe hats. The shirt tails went out with their shirt untucked. The Plug Uglies wore oversized beaver hats, and the Dead Rabbits would head out with the rabbits nailed to a stick. The Bowery Boys, perhaps the most infamous of New York's 19th century natives gangs, along with the Plug Uglies, were led most notably by founder Bill the Butcher Poe, a renowned pugilist, and the inspiration for the character that shares his nickname in Gangs of New York. Poole died in 1855 after being shot in the back by an associate of the rival Johnny Morrissey. Morrissey led the Dead Rabbits, an Irish gang that frequently clashed with the nativists, who sought to keep immigrants like them out. Morrissey, a bare-knuckle boxer and all-around brawler, eventually rose above his streets-level beginnings and became a U.S. congressman. Wait, what?
Yep, told you. What these people went into, it all ties in. It all ties in.
Doodle Vision said, Dead Rabbits, where? Who?
No, I almost fell out reading Antonio's statement in the chat.
Me too. Antonio is wild in the chat.
Can't deny who your brother is. Nope.
At all.
So he became a congressman, largely thanks to his connections with the New York's Tammany Hall political machine. All the gangs of 5 Points had their own way of letting people know who they stood with. The fights would break out over most anything. The Bowery Boys used violence to keep other firefighters from taking their contracts, while Irish gangs like the Dead Rabbits would riot over the discrimination. The 5 Points gangs made their neighborhood one of the deadliest places on earth, and it was said that they had the highest murder rate of any slum in the world. According to the legends, the most dangerous building in a housing tenement called the Old Brewery saw a murder every single night. Above all, it was nationally and race that turned the 5 Point gangs against one another. The Bowery Boys aligned themselves with the American Navist Party, a staunchly anti-Catholic political group that believed that America belonged solely to the white man who colonized it. But with the Irish potato farmer in full force, Irish refugees were rushing onto America's shores. Nativists, like the Bowery Boys, saw that as a threat to their identity. Riots and fights broke out between the Bowery Boys and the Irish Dead Rabbits. In one brutal 2-day battle, an estimated 1,000 people took to the streets of New York to fight, beating each other senselessly and looting one another's homes. By the time the blood had dried, 8 men were dead and up to 100 lay injured, and even the inspired Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York. Okay, it says an event that inspired Martin Scorsese's Gang of New York.
Just to fast forward, even though we'll get to that point down the line, remember these gangs in New York's in 5 Points. And as you'll see in time, these 5 Point gangs break up and spread off into these 5 boroughs and become these mob families that you know of.
Doodle Vision says, they say dead rabbits got their name from the dead being tossed in the middle of the group, but actually it was due to the Chata sending the Irish potato. Got it.
Because what did the 5 boroughs become known as after this? Hell's Kitchen. Right after they split it up, remember, they split it up by groups. One group got the Bronx. Another group got Manhattan. Another group got Staten Island. To this day, you still see the traces of it if you go visit.
Hell's Kitchen, Hellenistic period. What do you do in the kitchen?
Cooking up some mess.
Interesting.
Indeed. Okay, let's continue. Race riots broke out again when the Civil War began. When draft cards started going out to conscript New Yorkers into fighting for the Union, the Irish gangs took their frustration out on their black-skinned neighbors. They set the city ablaze, smashed up fire engines, killed more than 100 people, and even burned an orphanage for black children to the ground. For nearly 100 years, the 5 Points gangs practically ran the city. Little change until photographer Jacob Rouse went in with the camera and captured their lives. Riaz cataloged the lives of the people in the 5 Points in his famous book, How the Other Half Lives, showing the world for the first time what it was like to live in the most abject poverty the nation had to offer. His book changed the face of the city and its approach to endemic poverty. Five Points was subsequently torn down piece by piece. Politicians rallied for it to be ripped apart, with one telling his constituent, "This hotbed of infamy, this modern Sodom, is situated in the very heart of your city. The notorious old brewery was pulled down, missionary houses were brought in, and bit by bit the face of the city changed." The 5 Points gangs were broken up and slowly fading into history. Though the groups died, the spark of what New York had become wouldn't die out. Their world, a place where poverty and racial differences boiled over into violence and organized crime, would become a part of America, a way the other half lives.
And back to what you were saying before in the beginning, that they turned on their melanated neighbors. And that's because at these times, our ancestors were living good compared to these people. These people didn't have nothing. Like TMA mentioned yesterday, they came over with nothing. They had nothing.
And when you see somebody that has nothing, or when you have nothing, you see somebody that has everything, what do? You either want to take it or destroy it, because if you can't have it, they can't have it either.
What a mentality.
I mean, you feed me potatoes every day for 40 years, I'd probably be a little ornery too. I'm just saying.
That's better than starving and not seeing those 40 years. So you need to be grateful, not ornery. Perspective.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Ooh.
Stop it. No, but I mean that's real talk.
Enrique said granddaddy said his daddy brought a car and could not drive it to work because the white people get mad.
See, it's a prime example. And not only that, like even though a lot of our ancestors were pushed into those situations, end up in these concrete jungle type situations, we still knew how to like come together, and we still had that sense of being tribal, those family meals and whatnot. So that sense of being able to thrive even when a lot of pressure is being put on you by coming together, we had that down pat. They saw that pattern. That's why they start trying to huddle based on, well, I don't have anybody here. It's just maybe me and my wife and my child, but you come from the same country, so let's start huddling. It's just, there's a different energy that came from the ones who were actually a tribal energy and the ones that were coming from another type of energy. Obviously, because you see the sense of one trying to supplant the other in every way possible. So just keeping it real. But I digress.
Exactly, Free. It's like one side competing and the other side don't even know the contest is on.
Exactly.
Running up to me telling me tag, I'm it. I ain't even asked to play.
So you have the CIO, which eventually the AFL merged to become the CIO, or become the AFL-CIO. CIO stands for Congress of Industrial Organizations. It was a federation of unions that organized workers in industrial unions in the United States. Let me see what these industrial unions are.
Dun 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 dun.
Industrial unionism. A labor union organizing method through which all workers in the same industry are organized in the same union, regardless of skill or trade, thus giving workers in one industry or in all industries more leverage in bargaining and in strike situations. Advocates of industrial unionism value its contributions to building unity and solidarity, many suggesting the slogans, an injury to one is an injury to all, and the longer the picket line, the shorter the strike. Industrial unionism contracts with the craft unionism, which organizes workers along the lines of their specific trades. Workers using the same kind of tools or doing the same kind of work with approximately the same level of skill, even if this leads to multiple union locals. Even if it leads to multiple union locals in the same workplace. Perceived disadvantage of craft unions. In 1922, Marion Dutton Savage cataloged the disadvantages of craft unions as observed by industrial union advocates. These included distressfully frequent disputes between the different craft unions over jurisdiction. Modern industry results in a constant process of phasing out old skills, one trade doing the struck work of another entity. Its frequent dilemma. Expiration of contracts can be staggered, hindering coordination of strikes. Industrial unionists observe the craft union members, and they are more often required by their contracts to cross the picket lines established by workers in other unions. Likewise, in a strike, for example, coal miners, unionized railroad workers may be required by their contracts to haul scab coal. Employers find it easier to enforce one bad contract than use that as a precedent. Employers could also show a favoritism to a strategic group of workers. Employers also find it easier to outsource the struck work to a craft union. A craft union with critical skills may be able to shut down an entire industry. The disadvantage of this harsh feelings of those who may be forced out of work by such an action, yet receive none of the bargain for benefits. Ladarian Wood says the union is a treacherous kinfolk. Yes, they are. So then they just go on to break down the differences in classes and the differences in the actual unions themselves. And Grand Rising of Cliff Tiff.
I see a chat on it, so I'm gonna ask the chat a question.
Okay.
What type of lawyer was Daredevil?
Does anybody know?
Help anybody out. He was a union lawyer, Allied Construction.
I never knew that.
Oh, wow. The
I
truth
never
can
knew.
Who was
always be found
Daredevil's
in the
enemy?
details.
Kingpin. Kingpin led the mobs. See, a lot of these stories they retell you, it's history chopped up as entertainment so you don't take it serious.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Remember, Kingpin, he's strong on the unions.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you study as we go further on, the unions tie into the mob. Sorry, Free.
Oh, no. No, you're good. I was just co-signing because when I actually read Golden's comment a little earlier, and it just kind of sparked something that I was thinking when TMH was reading about the Strikers. It sparked the whole sense of who is Stryker in Marvel Comics. And what was he known for, and what was he doing, and even what was his relationship like with his family. And so then when I saw Golden Moon's comment, it's like, okay, we already know that the truth is definitely in the details, but this whole sense of this collective consciousness when we come together, interesting how this works.
Remember, they tell you art imitates life and life imitates art. A lot of things that you see created in movies and television and written down are taken from actual events and twisted to make it entertainment. You know, like a true story, when they turn it into a movie, they embellish certain things to make it entertaining. Same thing going on with a lot of these stories. Turn them into superheroes and other type of things so you don't pay attention to, like Free said, the details.
Right. With Stryker's backstory, he wasn't happy with, like, his home life was horrible. His child was like torturing his wife, like mentally, because I guess his child was a mutant or whatnot. And then he gets involved in the government and he starts doing all these experiments on mutants, trying to create an army to basically do his dirty work or his bidding, whatnot, and affected a lot of people in doing so. And it's just interesting again, because like as we're like just looking through history and seeing how all these events play out and how intertwined this is between family, you would think, well, if you have a son who's a mutant, why are you trying to get mutants to kill other mutants? Like, why do you have such a hatred? But hey, nothing new under the sun. It's that whole recycled sense of energy coming right back around again. Just find it real interesting.
Dulu said Stryker had hammer time toes too. Golden Moon says they're telling our stories. Yeah, they're just layered.
And I comic class.
It's
funny because it's almost like the image that we're given is almost like the world they envision doesn't really show us. And that's a problem, like, especially, of course, it's a problem. But I just mean in context of when you see how this agenda is playing out and how far down the line we've gotten with all of this. So somebody better apply the brakes to this thing. I don't see a whole lot more road ahead. Time to get this turned around.
And to answer Antonio's question, Hitler's experiments, the ghetto, putting people on top of each other to live in high altitudes because they know the higher you get, it affects your judgment and how you think. Yeah, they got all that from Hitler.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Think about it. How could they hate the Germans so much and we already know, man, how many, and it was already in the country. 44 million? You don't hate them people. You working with them.
And
There's 44 million in you here. Yes, y'all in politics and government. 44 million?
And let's put in this proper perspective. Were we or were we not battling the Germans? At the same time, we were battling China in World War II. Yes or no?
Yep.
So how is it that they quarantined the Chinese, but they didn't touch the Germans? Oh, wait.
Japanese.
Japanese.
Good question. Yeah, good question. Yeah, because they locked all the Japanese up in camps.
Mm-hmm.
Germans was running around here. Height. We ain't playing football.
Whew, let me tell you.
If you look at it, in the war, who did the most damage? Was it the Germans or was it the Japanese?
Yeah, because the Germans ain't fired nan shot over here.
2 words, Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm. They got the Japanese to do their dirty work. Don't never forget, wars are fought by proxies. And a lot of wars happen to get the masses to think a particular way.
Yep.
Okay, so
create. Oh, go ahead, TMA. Sorry.
So I'm gonna tell y'all gotta remember this. According to World War II history, the bloodiest day of battle was when? Y'all remember? Somebody stormed the beaches of Normandy. Where's Normandy?
France.
It's in France.
Mm-hmm.
They lost I think they said they lost an estimated like 60,000 people that one day. 6,000 or 60,000 people. Either way, it was the bloodiest day in that war. But yet, German scientists were given a free pass to come in. You have some of Hitler's men here. All the Japanese did was attack Pearl Harbor, and their casualties wasn't that high. So the question is, why were the Germans given a pass and the Japanese weren't? Remember, because Hiroshima and Nagasaki got bombed, literally destroyed. Mm-hmm. Did the U.S. go help rebuild over there?
Nope.
Okay.
But they rebuilt Europe twice.
Okay.
How you gonna bomb Nagasaki, but you're not gonna bomb anywhere in Germany? And the leader of the whole axis of evil is a German from Germany. It's Hitler. So somebody please explain. Someone has some explaining to do.
Hey, Lucy.
I mean, that's so lopsided. It's obvious to see. Like TMH said, you round up the Japanese population and you put them in internment camps. But you do nothing to the German population? They don't even get a warning. They don't even get a strongly worded letter. Like, I'm watching you. Nothing. And then you drop 2 bombs in Japan, which is an island, by the way, which seems like a overkill. But one of the places is Nagasaki, out of all places. Nagamaya, Nagasaki. Yeah, bother me. No place in Germany. Like, you actually go and help rebuild their infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And you take in their top scientists and captains and blah, blah, blah under Operation Paperclip.
No one confirms.
Right after that, you get the rocket program, you get ballistic missiles, you get all this stuff for the German scientists.
You get NASA, a word that means deception, but you get NASA. You get a lot of stuff from them.
Volkswagen.
And you put the Germans in charge of the program, but I thought they're your enemies, though.
How you gonna put them behind in government positions when you were just fighting a war with them, supposedly? If you fighting with somebody, like you have a beef with somebody's trying to kill you in the street, and say y'all have a truce or somebody beat somebody else up, and then they come to your house, you just gonna like let them in, like, yeah, sit down, like. Where's the caution? Hello? Where's the sense of...
Man, Free, check it out, Free. I understand I was busting shots last week at you, but right now I need you to come over here and make these weapons and some food for us. You got us. How that work?
Right, or Bones, I already know that, yeah, you tried to kill me, but you know what? If you don't mind just painting my wall, it's like a real high area. I'm shorter than you, so I've helped brace the chair. Like, really? You come to do that for real?
Yeah, we're gonna show up all right. It won't be to put no paint on the walls.
That's what I'm saying. So, what is this Operation Paperclip?
What does a paperclip do? I mean, really, don't it just hold things together?
Flimsily.
Or it can attach things.
On attachment?
Yep.
Project Paperclip. The project to get these German scientists to attach themselves to America.
Because remember, United States didn't want to get involved in the war. The only reason they got involved in the war is because of Pearl Harbor bombing. If it had not been for that, they would have stayed out of it.
Right.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor.
I hear you. I know that's the
for them to get in it.
Right.
When you study Pearl Harbor, when you realize it could have been prevented, they knew days before that the ships were on their way to attack. They could have stopped them in the middle of the sea if they wanted to.
Easy.
Doodle Vision says, and Argentina.
See.
Yep. A lot of people don't know that World War II, a couple of wars were fought in South America.
So this is stuff that was known. So this is all theater. Because if you think about it, America is nothing more, as far as influence is concerned. Not to say everybody here is French, but as far as influence is concerned, America is nothing more than North France and South France. That's all Germany is. That's all Europe is. That's all it is. French fighting the French, just by a different name, speaking a different language.
DBAs.
So that's the reason why we went so hard on Normandy. You didn't think the U.S. was just gonna let that happen. Here comes James. What it
Come
do?
on in.
What it do, boss? What you got, Brad?
Drop it like it's hot.
He coming.
So they had to change his shoes and get his Mr. Rogers sweater on.
Oh no.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Oh no. How's it going, James?
Everything is fantastic. Greetings, Brother TMH, Brother Bones, and Lady Free, aka Rudy Huckleberry.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't like it, but proceed, sir.
Man, y'all are on it. Two things that connect. We've been talking about New France and talking about these Germans, and to show you that they are one of the same, and how history keeps coming back around, and it's going to come around again. Napoleon and Hitler were trying to do the same thing. They were trying to reunite the Acadians, aka those wooden shoe wearing Dutch, aka your Pilgrims, aka those Northern Huguenots, aka your Vikings, aka your Celts. All these were the same people. So when you study what Napoleon was trying to do, all he was trying to do was reunite the Gothic Empire, which was the same thing that Napoleon was trying to do. This was the same thing that Hitler tried to do. He took a page out of his book and ended up getting defeated in the same spot. That's why the U.S. never got involved when Germany invaded Poland. Never said a mumbling word. They went into Czechoslovakia, we know that region there, all of what we know of Bohemia. And Bohemia gets back to those boys, which are Celts. B-O-I-I. Not Birdman and all them. What happened to that boy? But boy, it's the same people that were over here. And they could not, they put the Japanese in concentration camps and did not put Germans in concentration camps, because how can you put yourself in a concentration camp? That's not logical. Why would you lock yourself up?
Bingo.
These were the same people. They were trying to reunite New France over here with old France over in Europe. Same thing they're doing over here. That's why there was a great influx. These are the same people, same folk. Follow the breadcrumbs. I yield the mic. Oh, and I forgot to tell y'all that Hitler actually did try to cut a deal with Mexico. Had he done what he wanted to do, he wanted to give the Mexicans, those that were called Mexicans today, aka your Polish, the Tejanos that deal with that polka, Polish, Poland, Dutch, ta-ta-ta-ta, Santa Monica, pop, 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 that kind of music, Polish. They had cut a deal. Find your research, you will find out that the Nazis had submarines in the Gulf of Mexico during World War II. I yield the mic.
They were set up in South America. Yes, they were. Even had a couple of Japanese off the coast.
We're never told that in school. We're never given that version.
Clear the blast area. Clear the blast area. Clear the blast area. One more time. One more again. All right, I'm done.
But now ask yourself, why would the Nazis be comfortable in going into South America? Because France was already there when Brazil got there. Go back and look up French colonies of South America. It'll shock you.
Yeah, France. The Huguenots are set up in Brazil.
Back it down once so the picture's getting clearer. That's good.
Yep, because what do they speak in Brazil?
Portuguese.
And Portuguese is nothing but Port of the Geese, which is short for Huguenots. Same vote.
Boom. Goodness gracious. I took my hard hat off for 1 second.
Oh yeah, I meant to tell everybody tighten them hard hats down. This one on me. I'm sorry, relatives. Forgive me. James came in and forgot all type of manners, forgot all protocol. I need my relatives with the ratchets clear the area.
That came back full circle fast. That was like a popping rubber band. Goodness.
Clear the blast zone. Clear the blast zone. Please clear the blast zone. Don't hurt yourself. Better get out the way. Duck. Alright, we now return to our regular scheduled program. You can't make this stuff up, I'm sorry. Just can't. Big Hawk says, I know I'm late, but WW1 was fought under the same conditions as a U.S. ship was bombed and thrusted the U.S. in the war. Yeah, we know it's all theater, Big Hawk. We always getting thrusted. We always the innocent folk. We get forced in it. We're the reluctant heroes and sheroes.
Not realizing they puppet masters pulling the strings the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Getting you emotionally riled up. Yeah, getting you emotionally riled up. Why does the house never lose? Because the house always play both sides. Always. Mm-hmm. Come on, let's go back to the 80s. We gonna forget Iran, Contra. Wasn't they selling weapons to both sides and got busted? What happened?
Oliver North. Mm-hmm.
It should, and it also. I'm sorry. Go ahead, boss.
No, I'm about to say that quietly disappeared.
Well, that's because he ended up getting amnesia. I mean, Alzheimer's.
Convenient.
Man, he was an actor. I'm saying. Think about this. World War II and the victory, the bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the victory in D-Day. Those were considered American victories. That allowed America to become a superpower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's just
through that movie they played out.
Now let's just look at this. If you think about the military might that the United States has, but you look at the land mass, we're tucked almost dead smack center of South America and North America. We're not all of America, but we have bases in how many countries, Bones?
Out of the 190, 130, we have bases in. Where you going again?
As far as population, we're not in the top 10 in population. Y'all do know that, right? We only have on record, as they say, 450 million people. But we are the military might of the UN. Under the guise that we are separate from England because of the Revolutionary War. And history kindly omits the fact that New France was what set up the basic infiltration of everybody else to come here and colonize us.
Timmons, I got a question because you was in the military, so perfect person to ask. If these countries are enemies, why U.S. do train military exercises with them?
Because we're not enemies. This is the thing that people don't understand. If you're not in the military, you don't realize that the military is basically a floating embassy. As a soldier, you never need a passport. Anywhere you go, anywhere your family go, you never need a passport. I traveled to a lot of different countries when I was in the military. I didn't have to get a passport till I got out. So that should tell you something. Think of every place that the United States military is, and it's its own embassy. They have its own police, its own court. If you get in trouble as a soldier and you get picked up by the local police, unless you've committed murder or something like that, your first sergeant, your platoon sergeant, or your squad leader can come get you.
Military tribunal.
And if
so, it's kind of like an ambassador. Like each individual soldier is like an individual ambassador in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Worldwide
able to
peacekeepers.
open carry. Yeah.
That's it. Worldwide police force. That's it. Protect and serve America's interests and American colonies. Because best believe, you might call them bases and this and that. They are no different than colonies. You sent Americans over there, set up shop. That's a colony.
Right.
Grand Rising Celestial Love. Yeah, sometimes the notifications don't go out. Just know, for the most part, we're here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to at least 10:30 a.m. I'm about to say 10:30 p.m. Oh, Lord. 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
a.m.
Yes, a.m., not p.m. So I say that to say this. So the guys is that the United States, because the United States always gets blamed for being in places when they ain't got no business. And we're the peacekeepers and we're the enforcers. Who are we the enforcers for? What the UN stand for?
Question.
What does
Good
the UN
question.
What does the UN stand for? United Nations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. What nations were united?
If you think about it, Europe and Asia is considered Europe, right? And Africa is considered Asia, right?
Yep.
And being that majority of the population over here is European, aren't we all united?
And even to take it deeper, could it be representing that the French Protestants and the French Catholics put aside their beef, uniting France back as one entity,
Mm-hmm.
making them
I can see
united?
that. That also makes what James was saying about the deal that it was trying to push through with Mexico make a lot of sense too, because it's like they're trying to get their ordered caste system in place, and once they get it how they want it, then it should be able to run itself.
Grand Rising, James
They
Gilmore. I'm sorry, go ahead, Fred.
They just keep running into this tribal people that know they're not homeborn slaves and refuse to stick with the program because it's not natural. Here we find ourselves today.
Goes back to that word again, theater, an act. If all generals and strategists read the art of war, what secrets you have now?
None.
I'm just saying.
None.
Everybody reading, everybody playing from out of the same playbook. How that work?
I'm just saying.
You never noticed during war, they cut off supplies and stuff going to the country, therefore making the population of the country willing to jump on whatever you package up and get them like it's a better deal. Sort of like how America is over there building the infrastructure for Iraq now and charging them people an arm and a leg for services. Same play, same thing they did with our ancestors. You're just watching it happen to others now.
So Pamela Hall asked a phenomenal question. She says, so the question now is, how are we going to fix this before our children's children get here? Once first things take place, all second things follow. We gotta get back to who we are. Because we don't have any control or any power as long as we are separated and we have amnesia. All amnesia means is you don't know who you are. And then
remember.
Right. And until we get back to who we are, we're not gonna be able to do anything. Because we will get so distracted. And we won't be able to stay focused. Because most people don't even think this place is home. Most people think Africa's home. You will defend your home if you know where home is. That's the reason why it's difficult for soldiers to go somewhere and fight on foreign land. It's not their home. They're counting down the time till they come back home, right?
Yep.
Your patience wavers when you're not home. Your concentration wavers when you're not home. Your resolve wavers when you're not home. That's the reason why the whole goal is to keep us from knowing where home is. They tell us home is every place but where we're at. It's right up under our feet.
And I'm glad you used some terminologies, goal and all that, to bring it back home with this. Home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get on your own turf. Some of us are living in areas where we're not from. Some of us are living in areas that we're not supposed to be living in. We're wondering why we got allergies. Wondering why we don't like the weather or the climate. That might be because you're not home. Where are your people
Mainly,
from?
claim that you stand in your square, not realizing that's not your square you standing on. It's somebody else's that was given to you. And therefore, that's why a lot of times you ask yourself, dang, I'm doing this right. I'm going about this right. Why doesn't it work? Because you got to check that foundation that you're standing on. I don't care how skilled you are or how crafty you are. If the foundation is crooked, everything you build on that crooked foundation is destined to fail. I don't care how pretty it looks on the outside. It's not sturdy. It can't stand the test of time. And that's one of our biggest problems. That a lot of times when we fight, we're standing on the wrong square, expecting a different result. That's insanity. Like TMA said, it starts with us as the individual knowing who we are. Taking that responsibility to pass it on to our children now. So when they get to our age, this information is so embedded in them, the ability to even suggest anything else is obsolete. And that's how we guarantee our children's children will take this knowledge and keep applying it. But we must be willing to do the work today. And yes, it's going to be hard because we all suffer from colonized minds. There's no way around it. We were brought up in this system. But if we all can rely on our relatives to hold each other up when one is tired, to encourage of pushing to this information and talking to more, then we're going to be all right. We must unite. And it's not saying every last person a melanation. No. Those who are aware of the situation, those who know what must be done, these are the people that need to unite. I'll take 200 quality people over 1 million any day. And I say it again, 200 quality people over 1 million every day. And I promise you'll see results. Oh, I'm sorry, Free. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just saying I'm with you. It's always going to be quality over quantity any day.
And what that means is we got to clean our own house. It's very hypocritical to talk about how messed up our government is if we can't even govern our own house. It's very hypocritical to talk about how the government system needs to change when our house has no system. It's very hypocritical to talk about crime and what the government allows people to get away with when we got people in our own sphere of influence that are committing crimes and we're looking the other way and we're dealing with them anyway. How is a criminal gonna call another criminal out and correct a criminal? Doesn't work. Clean your house. And then don't go into another house that's dirty. Wait for them to clean their house and then work with them. And if they don't want to clean their house, leave them where they're at. It's that simple. And I understand you might lose some friends, but they're not your friends. You don't even know half these people. You've never met any of these people. You don't even have their phone numbers. You don't even know where they live. You've never been to their house. But yet, every day we on social media bigging each other up, ain't seen not their face. But we will put our reputation on the line, even risk getting put on a BEI list or BIE list because we so worried about how it's going to affect our status, whether or not somebody's going to watch our YouTube page. We said this a long time ago before we had a lot of followers. I don't care if no one follows us. We're going to continue to do what's right because it's the right thing to do. And if you are a scammer, I'm sorry. I am not associating with you. Because if you scam on something small, you'll definitely scam on something big. And if I let you do it, then that's my fault, not yours. Clean your house. That's where we start.
Cool, me one.
Bingo.
So, Grand Rising, Trap App, good to see you. Sorry about that rant, but at the end of the day, that's the only way we're going to be able to get this right.
No, I appreciate that rant.
You can't be claiming righteous when you're dealing with people that do unrighteous stuff. Doesn't make any sense. Then the excuse is, well, I was born by myself, I'ma hang by myself, but when you do your YouTube channels, you ain't by yourself. Then either you by yourself or you not. Which one is it? Well, I ain't got no problem with nobody. Yeah, but you scamming everybody.
But you know what's funny though?
What's up?
Hate the conditions of the government so bad. Hate that other people claim your identity so bad. But you don't hate it enough to stand up and speak out against it. You don't hate it enough to do what's right. And you mentioned something, status. People care more about a fake social status than the actual status that you're under that's representing you right now.
That's true.
How do we let ourselves become this entertainment culture that the worst of the worst we let identify us? And we run and parade to it. These are the things that we have to clean up because we can't expect nobody to take us serious when we are allowing these things to represent us.
At the end of the day, would you let a barber with a jacked up haircut cut your hair? Or would you let a stylist with a messed up dude do your hair? Would you let a mechanic with with all their personal vehicles, none of them are fixed, would you let that mechanic fix your car?
Or a chef with dirty fingernails cook your food.
I don't know why I thought TMH was gonna say a mechanic with one arm, but
Wait,
sure. I don't know. I thought, it's people with one arm that can do good work. So I'm glad you switched that to the car.
Okay.
That works. Grand rising, y'all.
Antonio calms down. Enter those fellows.
That's like letting the dentist with no teeth clean your teeth or do dental work on you. It doesn't make any sense. But why is it that we want to continue to associate ourselves with scammers and then act like that's okay? But then we want to point out the scams of the government. We want to point out scams of other people on YouTube, but we dealing with scammers. How does that make sense again? If somebody can explain it to me, where it makes sense, I'll listen.
Me and you both, because I still don't have no idea on that one. Woo.
Man, the government just taking money out of our community. All they do is take money out of our community. They robbing us blind. They got all the power. Yet still, you hanging around with people that's robbing people and taking money from people for 10 years. Ain't done nothing. They ain't call them out, but you hang with them and you always on their show. Excuse me? What?
But you know what's sad about that? We have to take 50% of the responsibility, and it could be more, on why they're gentrifying our neighborhoods. Because who are the ones in the neighborhood ruining it? Doesn't matter what program was put on this, who was physically out here bringing down the property value of our communities? We were. Mm-hmm. We helped bring the property value down so cheap that these people are using these same programs that was designed for us to come up and get our neighborhoods. They raised the price so high that you got to go way out the BFE just to think about making a living. We got to stop pointing fingers. We got to address what we did. Forget about what everybody else did to us. We know what everybody else did. We got to address what we are doing to ourselves and what we can do to stop it.
Lady J asked, do you think someone who did wrong should have a chance to redeem themselves? Should they have a second chance?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm on my, fifth second chance now? Yeah, everybody deserves a second chance. But at the end of the day, you have to be... See, here's the thing about a second chance. You have to admit that you did something wrong to get a second chance. And then you have to atone for it. But if you're not going to admit to it, and then going to call somebody else a scammer when they haven't scammed you, then do you deserve a second chance? Well, you haven't admitted that you were wrong.
I think it's a case-by-case basis, if I'm being real, because it depends what harm you did to me or you attempted to do. What was your intention? Like, does everybody get a second chance? If you just tried to kill me, do I give you a second chance to kill me again?
You got a point there. Yeah, that's true.
Due to vision, the response was Lady J. First, they have to come with a contrite heart. Well, I guess that would be admitting that they did something wrong.
Yeah, because if you don't admit the wrong, how is it a second chance? You didn't even acknowledge the first, so it can't be a second.
What is the second chance? Another bite at the apple? Or are you just trying to get in good graces again? So you have to be careful. That's like what we were talking about earlier. The whole playing both sides, Germans playing both sides. So like they're friends with everyone. Mm-hmm. That's probably where that whole the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Because I've never understood that. The enemy of your enemy might be your enemy, depending on their disposition. You don't know how they automatically your friend unless you're playing both sides. So it just seems like that same mentality is just kind of permeating throughout all of this. But we have to make sure that we're thinking on our toes so we don't end up getting a cross up to the jaw, end up back on our face.
Yeah, and everything is a case-by-case basis. And here's the thing, people are predictable. If someone is always making an excuse and it's always someone else's fault and it's never their fault, someone's always else is the reason why something happened. then they never take responsibility. If you've never heard them take responsibility or ever apologize or be contrite about anything, and they damn near 30-something years old, excuse my language, that should tell you something. Their actions will tell you how they feel about something.
Second chances are earned, not given. They are earned, not given. Might give you the first one. You definitely ain't getting the second one. Everything should be earned. That's how we prevent the mistakes that happened with our ancestors on allowing people to be chiefs on who their mother and stuff was. Not saying that we know better, but it's we have to make everybody earn it.
Yeah.
You have to know people's true intentions, their true actions, not off of what they say, but off of what they do.
Right.
Case in point, no one on this panel ever claims to be a master teacher. No one on this panel claims to know everything. No one on this panel talks from the standpoint of we're smarter than everybody. Every day we come here, we expose you to information. We tell you the challenges. We tell you to do the research. And we say if there's anything we miss, let us know. We accept...
participate with us.
Exactly. We accept full responsibility for everything that goes on this show. We don't blame anybody for anything that goes on this show. We accept the responsibility because we understand what that comes with. But we also know that without y'all, without the chat, there is no autochthonous assembly. We're just having a conversation with ourselves, going live, and no one's listening. So it does us no good to come here acting like y'all owe us something. Y'all don't owe us anything. Y'all are taking time out of y'all schedule, out of y'all lives to come here and receive this information. The least we can do is provide you with the information and give you the source so you can determine for your own self whether it's accurate, it's inaccurate, if we miss something, if something needs to be looked over.
And build from there.
And if a person's not willing to admit that they're wrong or they could be wrong or something, and they always coming like they've never been wrong or they're undefeated, you might want to take a look at them. I'm just saying. I'm not throwing shade, I'm just throwing facts.
You can't be talking about the Money Mayweather of YouTube.
Well, the funny thing about the Money Mayweather of YouTubes is that who's judging? Who are the refs? What was the criteria? Who did they ask? At least in boxing, you got 3 refs.
It's kind of easy when you, the champion, the challenger, and the ref.
That's true. So, Pamela Hall, hopefully that answers your question. Everything starts with us. It starts with what we need to do as individuals, because it's hard for me to correct anything that anybody else has done when I got a lot of stuff I got to correct myself. So hopefully that helps.
Because look at it this way. Who can articulate the needs of the people better than the people? Not one of us on this panel can address the needs of anyone in the chat's life better than that individual.
So true.
We have to get back to using our voices, our true power, our voices. That's what they fear. There's power in our voices together. That's why so much is spent to keep us separated. They don't care about a melanated person running around with a firearm. They want you looking like that. But they care about melanated people who sit down, know who they are, and learn how to use the information to pull others up. Stop this crab in the bucket syndrome that they got us believing that we need to take on to be successful when everybody else is helping their people. But we trying to help everybody else but ourselves.
Yep.
Crazy.
Peace, Michelle.
Yeah.
I won't skate around it. I will say views and opinions of James Flames, aka Doodoo Vision, aka the Crazy One, aka Dr. Jimmy, but not those of A2 or any of its affiliates. So I'll give the prime example because school is about to start back for most. You probably have a kiddo, but you know how first day of school, some people, because they don't read and don't do research, they just hang out with everybody they cool with, and they just kind of migrate into a class, and then the teacher starts taking attendance, and everyone's, Jane here, Johnny here, and then they get to you finally, and they saying, okay, you never answered. Your name is not on my attendance. Why are you in here? Oh, I'm just in here because, my homeboy Clarence is in here. And then she says, get out of my class. You're not even supposed to be in this class. So now you've disrupted a group that you shouldn't have been a part of. You lost instructional time in the class that you're supposed to be in. So what happens is we spend a lot of time hanging out with these groups, whether on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or YouTube, knowing we shouldn't be in that class, and we're missing the instruction to move forward in the class we're supposed to be in. So now you have been marked absent in the class you're supposed to be in, and you're trying to play catch up. And this is what's happening to us because they don't want to read, they don't want to research, they don't want to find out who's who. Or you got the kindergarten kids, what we talked about yesterday about that German kindergarten, the kids in the meadow. Wonder what that's all about. You'll find out at a later date. And they don't even know their name. And then you ask them, they still there at the school, well, what's your mama's name, mama? What's your daddy's name, daddy? Because they don't know who they are. So you're trying to find out who in the heck is this kid and who do they belong to? And this is us. Because we don't want to find out who we are. We don't want to deal with genealogy. No, that's too much. We just aboriginal to the whole planet, to the whole universe. I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm off the mic. I gotta go.
But I'm gonna say it again. I'm glad you said aboriginal. Like we learned over the past week, the Métis, which are French, were the children of French men and American Indian women, are considered aboriginal, which again is a French word. That's why we say, find your tribe, find your family.
Stop taking stuff at face value, please.
Why do you think the so-called black community think it needs a leader? Because they indoctrinated you not to think for yourself. To believe that there's a such thing as one master teacher. There's no such thing. As long as you're living, there's still information to be learned. You mastered nothing.
And it's interesting.
You're a student until the day you check out.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
You always are learning. Sorry, teammate.
No, you good. And it's interesting because everybody, it seems like we're all waiting for this one leader, but during the time of Dr. Martin Luther King, he was one of many leaders. He wasn't the only leader. He's just the one that most people focus a lot of attention on. Or Malcolm X. Or somebody else in that vein. There were a lot of leaders at that time. There were a lot of people taking responsibility for what's going on in their own community. Dr. Martin Luther King didn't get that notoriety until he marched to D.C. because before then he was only known in Alabama. People up north, if they're going to be honest, they didn't like Dr. Martin Luther King. People down south didn't like Malcolm X. So it was a regional thing. It was a community thing. So everybody's waiting for somebody to raise up out of their community to lead them. Now people on YouTube are waiting for YouTube leaders to lead them. So they're not even focused on their own community no more.
Lead yourself out the valley.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to people. I'm saying make them earn your respect and make them earn your trust. Don't look at how many followers and how many views they got and automatically declare that they're a leader. Hitler was a leader too. Look where that got his followers. Manson was a leader too. Look where that got his followers. Everybody that's a leader, you don't want to follow. You might want to find out where they're going first. And if they can't tell you where they're going, then that might tell you something that you need to know. Now, if you follow somebody, they don't know where they're going, and you hoping they're going to go the right direction, then that's your fault, not theirs. So, something to think about. You don't take a plane ride unless you know where you're going. You don't go on vacation unless you know where you're going. You won't even get in a cab or an Uber unless they know exactly where you're going. So why are you following people and don't know where they're going? Go to Mo, aka KD says James Jones drink this Kool-Aid.
Just following people around to get you killed. All you gotta do is watch horror movies. We're always the first ones to get killed because we hanging out with folks we shouldn't be hanging out with. Where are we going? I want to go too. You have no clue where you're going. End up in the middle of the woods, and you wonder why you hacked up into pieces, and people gnawing on you like you're a slab of ribs. How you
Not this one here. I'm volunteering to stay behind and tell the story. I ain't gonna be part of this story. I'm gonna tell the story.
He said a slab of ribs. Wow.
Ew. With the Kool-Aid. That's terrible.
Y'all were hitting the nail on the head when it came to those unions and how, and those 5 boroughs and how they split up. And that Scottish Rite run your hospitals. And look at Kaiser Permanente dealing with your pharmaceuticals. Those German scientists. Look up Kaiser Permanente and how they got it going over here. Not in it, and Scottish Rite just over here in what we call the United States. Then branch out to what they're doing all over the world.
Ain't the Kaiser universities specializing in pharmaceuticals and medicine?
Yes, sir.
Main school, they got the majority of our people being nurses.
James, it's interesting that you mentioned unions, right? Because one of the things that people that don't know unions and how they operate, one of the biggest dangers about a union is it doesn't matter what your skill set is. Unions are based off of time and service, not skill set. You get seniority because you've been there longer, not because you are better. And that's the way we've been indoctrinated. Somebody's been doing something for a long time, so that makes them a master at it. That makes them proficient at it. You could be doing something for a long time the wrong way. That don't mean somebody should be listening to you. And if we're basing things off of seniority, being first, doing this the longest, then you're basically following somebody with a colonizer's mentality. I know how unions work. I was a union steward of the United States Postal Service for 3.5 years. I had to get out of it because at the end of the day, I was protecting people that was good at hiding from work. And because they had seniority, we had to defend them. And they got the preferential jobs. They got the preferential treatment because they had tenure. Y'all know what that word means? They've been there longer.
Yes, sir. You're right. Because I got a cousin that works for the postal service, taking 5-hour lunch breaks and 1.5-hour smoke breaks, and she doesn't even smoke. So how that sound? But the fact that she had tenure, they couldn't get rid of her.
So now let's put this in its proper perspective, because this is appropriate. Just because you've been in a platform or been on a platform for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, that doesn't mean someone should follow you or listen to you. I'm not going to give praise and honor to somebody who's been promoting wrong information or misinformation simply because they've been on YouTube for 6 years. I'm not doing it. That makes me worse than a scammer. That's doing a scamming. And if somebody's promoting that, they are just like the unions. Now here's the question. Who runs the unions? Dude, you know?
Think about it.
Oh, so James won't play. We are getting kicked off today. Just walking back just a couple of steps, y'all.
I think he was talking about human resources.
Yeah, okay, HR, yeah, you know.
Human.
Think about it. Why was they even put in place? Because the ancestors had skill sets and the foreigners didn't. So the foreigners were complaining because they couldn't make an income because the ancestors had all the jobs. So what they did, they created a cheating mechanism. By now, you can't get employees to do particular services unless they're unionized employees. But if the union is saying they're not taking melanated people, who are all the jobs going to now?
The less skilled, more tenured, more organized individuals. Or more tenured, less organized individuals. Go ahead, Bounce.
Now you lose your property and stuff in the country and everything. So now you run into the city for these programs that they say they set up to catch you, which was just a deeper level of the trap.
Yep, that was a good way for them to even the playing field. Because at the time that they come over, they have very little and you're deemed to having much. And then they switch over things in the system and try to blacklist you, for lack of a better term. And then while you're trying to just make ends meet and hold on to what you have, they're working steady in these unions. Now they're coming up and you wonder why the whole sense of languishing even exists. It was systematically set up to do so.
Exactly. Take care, Mike Easton. He says, I'll see y'all later. Nice bill. Appreciate you for catching a ride on the cab.
Hope you recorded it on your own personal device because you may not be able to find this live stream afterwards.
Oh, it's recorded. we recorded this one. We got this one recorded.
And that's all this battle was about. Like you said, the union were unskilled labor of the North with all of these immigrants coming in, your Irish and your Germans, versus the Confederate States, which were your landowners. And now, when they switched it up, and especially when we get to the Reconstruction era, well, they did a number. The Reconstruction era, how we went from owning the land to being the tenants. And so now we're still tenants. And they tell you that the greatest asset that you could ever have is land. If you have land, you can do a whole lot. I'm not talking about just owning a building. I'm talking about the land, because then you can in turn have someone, a developer, come in, develop the land and lease it to them, and whatever structure is on that land at the end of that lease belongs to you. You have flexibility, and that's how they got us. is they made us tenants. We went from controlling the land to being sharecroppers to being tenants. And we ran to the big city, saw the big city lights, as my granddad used to say, and got stuck in the big city because we were never in the city. We had to go in. Our grandparents and great-grandparents went into town to work. If they did that, most of them stayed out there on the farm, but they went into town to work, which lets you know we didn't live in the big city. We lived on the outskirts in the rural area. And that's why we dying of heart disease and high blood pressure and everything else, because trying to live like they live. And that's not how we're supposed to live. That's not how we're supposed to reside. That's not how we're supposed to get along with one another. I know I'm on my tangent, and I appreciate y'all putting up with me, but that's the main thing. When you know who you are, no one else can define who you are. And you won't be answering to everything else and getting caught to and fro. So if you're still asking, what do we need to do and how do we need to get it right? All you need to do is take these live streams and start just dropping links. You don't have to say a word. Well, say a couple of words because they think it's a virus, but say, hey, y'all may need to listen to this. All your Facebook groups, because I know some of y'all are batting from both sides of the plate. Y'all go over to different sides and listen up and hee and ha. They come over here to get information. Start sharing the information. I'm going to say this, it's going to make some people mad. I never dealt with people, and still don't. Even as a kid, I didn't. I don't deal with people that come and tell me a whole lot of stuff about somebody or what somebody said about me. Because I turn around and ask is, what did you say to steer this conversation? If you took the time to hear all that information on what they were saying about me, then that lets me know everything I need to know about you. Because I would have abruptly ended that conversation. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm off the mic.
Antonio says, due to vision, but do you think it's possible to slow this tidal wave of self-destruction down? The country is only getting worse by the minute. Antonio, here's the best way for me to explain it. And it's oversimplification, but it truly works. When you start with yourself, and then you start with one person at a time, what you'll see is everybody that you touch will then do the same things that you did for them. But you got to start with yourself first. We can't fix Trump if we ain't right. If I'm associating with somebody that's a known scammer, do I really have any leverage to talk about Trump dealing with the Russians if that's what he's doing, and I'm dealing with a scammer? I'm asking. I'm just being realistic. The answer to that question is an emphatic no. Because that's like me having Mount Trashmore in my house, and I go to your house and point out the fact that you got 4 pieces of paper on your floor, and that's all you got. Everything else in your house is clean, but you got 4 pieces of paper on your floor, and I go, man, you need to get that trash up off your floor. Yet still, I got Mount Trashmore in my house. That's hypocritical. Nobody want to be bothered with that. Antonio says, I feel like we need an instant movement. The problem is, only thing instant movement means, starting now. Most people don't want to start now. They'll wait to do their genealogy. They'll wait to contact us about HUD. They'll wait to contact us about setting up their businesses. They'll wait to contact us about anything. Instant means starting now. Not now, right now. Instant is an hour old. Instant is 2 days away. Most people are just waiting. They're not willing to do anything. And they rather associate with people not doing anything so they can feel good. People want other people to do something so they can ride along. That's what it really boils down to. They're waiting for somebody to come around and give this instant fix where they fill out this piece of paper. They automatically become a citizen. They automatically get their indigenous rights and everything goes with it. Get their land. And then everything is going to be kumbaya and great. When in fact, Instant is nothing more than doing work right now. You know, it took me 10 years of mentoring entrepreneurs for a couple of entrepreneurs to actually get it and actually do the work. It looks like it's instant to y'all because y'all went around 10 years ago. So instant is basically doing the work when everybody else is sitting around waiting for the result.
Overnight success normally took 10 to 15 years behind the scenes. Again, what most people think is overnight success took 10 to 15 years behind the scenes. We didn't get in this mess instantly. Let's stop looking for the easy way out. There's no such one. There's no such thing.
Go ahead, Free.
I said sweat equity. Agreeing with Bones.
Yeah, I mean, start with your community. Start with your neighbors. Start in your neighborhood. Those are the easiest people to talk to because they know you. Unless that's a problem, because they know you. And if that's the case, then you might have some atoning to do. You might need to get something right. Because if the people in your own neighborhood don't want to mess with you, the question is why do you think anybody on YouTube will want to mess with you? Because what's going to happen is the truth is going to come out. You can only hide behind an icon so long before the truth comes out. It's inevitable. It will happen. Once done in the dark,
look at it this way.
Will always come out the light. Go ahead, Bones.
Look at it this way. You in the jam, you need some help. You rather call on a YouTube icon or being able to go next door to your neighbors? You in the jam now. You need help right now. Which one seems more realistic?
Most people would rather deal with these virtual relationships they have on YouTube. Because in actuality, they burnt their bridges. That's just been my observation. That doesn't mean everybody, but from what I've seen.
But ain't you putting the same amount of energy into this virtual relationship that you're going to have to put into a real one? But the difference is the virtual one never pays out.
See, the great thing about a virtual relationship is that you can be anybody you want to be in a virtual relationship. You can have any power and association that you want to have in a virtual relationship. But when you walk out, go ahead.
I mean, they still playing catfish.
Bruh, listen. Bruh, listen. Listen. Everybody's the biggest, baddest, boldest, bravest person on YouTube until they walk out their door. Anybody can tell you what they gonna do till you get to their doorstep, or till they come out their neighborhood, or till you go to their neighborhood and find out that don't nobody mess with them because they scamming, or they don't never talk to nobody because they scared, or they didn't even know that they lived in that neighborhood. At the end of the day, who can verify for you? That's the reason why I say that. Because if can't nobody verify for you in your own neighborhood, then who are you? You know, rep your hood, rep where you from. The people in your neighborhood should know who you are. And if they don't know who you are, then the question is, who are you? If more people on YouTube know you than your own community, that speaks volumes. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about these YouTube personalities that have these channels. I'm not talking about people that actually just go on YouTube and just watch. I'm talking about these people that have these followers and everybody's following them like they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. If you have more people on YouTube that know you than people in your neighborhood, what's that say about you? To make it simple, if you got 10,000 followers on YouTube, how many people in your neighborhood know you? How many people in your community know you? Are you a go-to person for at least 500 people in your neighborhood, your community, your county, your city, your state? If not, why not? Just something to think about. But with that, it's always phenomenal. We appreciate everybody that's commenting in the chat, keeping us on our toes, holding us accountable, asking us the great questions, having us draw conclusions. I mean, we definitely appreciate y'all. Y'all are truly the best chat in YouTube world.
Hands down.
Trap App says in the real world, a lot of keyboard gangsters are weak.
That's why they don't ever go outside. And someone was talking about catfish, and y'all. Oh man, I'm gonna say y'all. Some of us getting catfished every day on YouTube already because you didn't check the Adam's apple. Then you got your manhood taken.
They didn't even know it.
The views and opinions.
Antonio says we didn't even destroy no keyboards today, TMH. Yeah, I know. We'll work on that tomorrow.
Antonio, I think he's been sneaking the mute button and typing on mute. So don't be ashamed.
Not yesterday, man. I was banging on the keys yesterday, man. Antonio says horrible.
Just tell the truth. Keyboard
don't be ashamed.
Keyboard took the day off. Exactly. Said it needed a break.
Plus, we need to know how many you break for inventory purposes now. Come on.
I love all the different names. Steph Arms, that's that Kermit reference. Medea. What's the one? Tiff, what did you say yesterday? She said something about there's like the keyboard of doom or something. It was so funny. We got Keanu Keys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Keanu Keys took the day off. Keanu Keys.
Killer Keys, that's what she said. Killer Keys.
Yeah,
we got A2 and we got K2.
Man.
CMH is K2.
I am not.
See, I thought I was collecting nicknames. CMH, you got some. See?
Antonio, I am not an insecure typer. I just have little fingers. How about that?
Did I miss the button?
Man, we need to get off this panel. Y'all stupid.
Yeah. No. Right now. Oh no, but I can't be
the Burger King commercial with the small hands. I couldn't eat the Whopper. Junior.
I'll help you.
I'll hold it for you.
Don't blame him.
Call him fingers.
Look, Cliff Tiff right on time. She's talking about some hashtags fingers.
Fingers.
Got any of you relatives that know anybody that invested in small keyboards or small hands? Holla at
Hold on, you talking about little iPad keyboards that you can use for your desktop? Oh man, we're not supposed to be doing this live, y'all. What's wrong with y'all?
Antonio said he's typing with all knuckles.
No, the knuckles is still there. Tony. It's just a shorter finger.
He mastered all the knuckle typing.
Oh.
Accurate too.
Many fingers. Oh. Really?
Many fingers. You the one said you had small fingers.
I know you said
I said I got little fingers. That's a difference.
Yep. Okay. That's a rap name.
Little fingers.
Moving on.
West Coast little fingers.
Every time we get ready to type, the theme music plays.
Oh man, they give
he got a new one. Lord of the Keys. That's Lord of the Keys.
Lord of the Keys.
The Oakland Fast Fingers LLC. Oh man, just help you set up your business.
Oh my god.
Not only the panel don't got no sense. The tech join in too.
Oh yeah, well at least we know.
I am your host, Killer Keys.
Oh man.
Oh, all right.
Featuring Keanu Keys.
All right, man.
Me
Let's let these good people get on their way, man.
Yo, wow.
Y'all are so funny.
Look, Tonio said that's what happens when you talk about black Freemasons and firefighters stepping on Cadillac's dreams out here.
I didn't even mention, man.
Let it go, Antonio. Let it go.
Let's keep going.
Anyway, Lady Free, rescue us. Salutations.
Wait, I have to stop looking at the chat.
She's trying to recover.
That's stupid.
Listen, remember who you are. Do your genealogy. I love y'all so much. Till next time.
She was under stress, duress, and coercion. Who forced you to say that?
I'm done.
Oh, man.
Y'all wrong. Okay. No sellout. Since your relative was the one that started all this mess.
You should be the one to close the show out.
Edward
Fingerhead. I thought you was about to read it too. Now that one's accurate right there. Edward Fingerhands. We don't know exactly the size, so we just call him Edward Fingerhands.
Oh, Doodoo said Rudy Huckleberry. Or Knuckleberry.
Knuckleberry. Oh, man.
All right, what you got for us, no sellout?
Nothing. No, I put everything in the chat, and I'll do it again. But y'all have a what's the day? Tuesday? Y'all have a blessed day. I appreciate y'all for showing up. Peace, y'all.
James Flames, Doodoo Vision, aka Tall Jimmy. As always, it's a pleasure. We love the information that you bring, the insight that you carry with the wisdom that you have with you. Please give us some words of wisdom before you head on out.
I want to say it's truly a privilege once again to be amongst all you all. Where did Lady Free go? She giggled and then she dropped the mic. I know she's still laughing in the background. But I appreciate you all, Brother Thomas, Brother Bones, Brother No Sellout, Lady Free, especially Brother No Sellout, getting me into stuff that I shouldn't be in. Y'all know he's Sir Jinx a lot. But only thing I can say is, for those that are still wondering what could be done. I have a question for Brother No Sellout, because you put in the chat you like any, questions, comments, feedback. I don't think you stated verbally, but you also put it in the chat. Have you gotten any responses, constructive criticism via email from any other people out there that may have some concerns?
I encourage anyone to do that, but I have not received an email about even a correction. So no concerns, no questions, comments, corrections. I'm waiting. That's why I put it there. Anyone? Bueller, come on mute.
And so far, we're averaging about one guest caller every 2 months, huh? It's about the average. And the numbers on the screen.
About that.
Numbers on the screen every show. So that'll let you know something there. All I can say is, again, there are always nuggets being given out and jewels being dropped. Just go back to the beginning, replay these shows, play them on low in your sleep, because you still take things in. Matter of fact, the last thing to go, even when you transition, is your hearing. So you can still hear it in your sleep. Take all that information in. Utilize that information. And I'll say again, there's no magic wand. There's no certain amount. And I'm pretty sure, Brother Bones, or you like it was back then when it was WWF, or you the $1 million man, when you say everybody's got a price for the $1 million man. So is there a certain amount of money that they have to pay to go to the A2 website and log in and become a part of the chat and get more information? That way it's not, they don't just say, just a bunch of guys talking up here all day long. So is there a cost to get on there?
Nope.
Oh, you
So
might have to
no
repeat that, Bones.
There's no VIP passes because I know there's a particular mega church pastor here in Dallas, and I won't call him out. But you put a certain amount of money in love offering plate, and you get to sit close to him during the service while this being live streamed and on TV. Not gonna say his name, but that's what they do. It's called the VIP section. So there's no VIP section. You don't have to wait to become a Patreon to get information. Information is being out there for free. And when information is being given out there for free, it's because you actually have a love for the people. You have a love for what you do. You want to serve the people. That's what makes the difference. And in turn, you will get rewarded. And sometimes, most of the time, it is not always monetary. I'll leave on this note. The same thing that I tell my children. They used to ask me when some of them were younger, Dad, why do you do all this stuff and blah, blah, blah in the community? I said, because I want to make a difference. And hopefully one day you're out somewhere and you may need some help. And someone will say, oh, you know what? You James Flames' daughter. You James Flames' son. And they will give you the help that you need because I can't be everywhere at the same time. And as my grandmother used to always say, baby, I love you and I want other people to love you when I'm gone. With that, I yield this cotton picking mic.
And with that, I'm gonna hit that explosion because he just dropped many jewels. Many jewels,
Yeah.
one bomb. And here we go. All right. So I think I said more than enough for today. Appreciate everyone. Appreciate the chat. Definitely appreciate the panel. Lady Freed, hopefully you've recovered. And hopefully Antonio and No Sellout ain't make you grow a brand new six pack on your back.
This one I call down. Here we go.
I just imagine. On your back, though.
Appreciate you, James. No Sellout as always, bro. You have the most impeccable timing of anybody I've ever seen in my life. I appreciate you. The panel appreciates you. The chat appreciates you. And then there's Brother Bones. That man got more talent than should be allowed. But anyway, I'm glad that we're here. I'm glad of what we're doing, and I hope everyone is able to get something from this and understand that at the Conscious Assembly, we're here to help. We're here point blank in discussion. So don't confuse our passion with hate. Don't confuse our help with weakness. With that, I'm turning over to Bones, and I relinquish the mic.
All right. Appreciate the panel. Appreciate the chat. You know, all of us coming together is how this is possible. And as a group, we're expressing this information, exposing this information, and doing our best to pass it down. And let's remember, all these Jews that we're coming across and that we're sharing does us no good if we don't turn around and start applying it today. If we don't start taking advantage of these programs that we know exist for us today. If we don't start correcting this false history of ours today. So on that note, it's always fun when we get to kick it with the relatives, enjoy the laughs. Until the next Rising Show, everyone, please have a very blissful day. Keep your head up high. Know that we will make it through for the next 7 generations. And peace.
Peace, everyone.
Peace, y'all.